Welcome back to The High Ground, the podcast that brings you actionable insights in business, leadership, and marketing. I'm your host, Zach Huffman. This episode 5 in our 6-part mini-series on building a story brand by Donald Miller, and it's a big one. Over the last 4 episodes, we've followed the story brand framework. We've defined our customer as the hero, uncovered their problems, positioned you as the guide with a plan, and called the hero to action. Now, in Donald Miller's final chapters, we tackle the moment of truth, the stakes, the fear of failure, and the promise of success. Stay tuned because this is where all the pieces come together to create a marketing that not only sounds good, but drives real results for your small business. Now, we've got a lot to cover in this episode, so let's jump right in. Now, Saturday nights at my house include my wife and I curled up on the couch, the remote in hand, and serious decisions to make. Her go-to movie is a heartfelt romantic comedy. Typical boy meets girl, sparks fly, and ultimately love triumphs. Meanwhile, I'm there eyeing the high-octane action flick in which the hero fights impossible odds to save the day. Talk about 2 completely different genres. You'd think we couldn't be further apart in our tastes. But here's the thing. No matter which movie we end up choosing, there's always something in common. Every great story demands we ask, what's at stake? Will our hero rekindle his love interest with his high school sweetheart, or will he lose her to the hotshot New York lawyer? Will our hero stop a group of terrorists from using a chemical weapon on the city, or will he and all of his loved ones perish? That tension is why we keep coming back week after week, movie after movie, and it's exactly what your marketing needs. Stakes are what make your message compelling. People are naturally driven by what they stand to lose if they don't solve their problem. In fact, the prospect theory shows that people are 2 to 3 times more motivated to avoid a loss than to achieve a gain. That's huge insight. Your customer's fear of missing out or losing something valuable is often a stronger motivator than the promise of a shiny new benefit. So how do you define the stakes in your brand story? Donald Miller suggests being crystal clear about the consequences of inaction for your customers. Here are a few practical steps to incorporate stakes into your messaging. Highlight what's at risk. Point out the negative consequences your customers face if they're going to ignore the problem. What pain or cost will they incur by doing nothing? For example, every month without our accounting software could be costing you thousands in lost revenue. This isn't about doom or gloom for its own sake. It's about showing the real-world stakes of not choosing a solution. Then you would offer the solution. Immediately follow up with how your product or service protects them from that loss or pain. Show that you are the guide that helps them avoid this failure. For instance, our software fixes these leaks in your finances so you keep that revenue instead of losing it. In story terms, the guide, your brand, is handing the hero a lifeline. The next thing you'll want to do is create urgency with clear call to action. Once you've shown what's at stake and how you can help, tell them what to do next and make it timely. Emphasize why they should act now. Using our example, sign up for a free audit today and don't lose another dollar to accounting errors. When customers understand what's at stake, they're more likely to act quickly. By defining the stakes, you inject energy and tension into your marketing narrative. It answers your customer's secret. So what? If there's no risk in not buying, there's no real reason to buy. As Donald Miller puts it, without a real risk of danger, any story loses tension. Highlighting even a few awful things that could happen if customers don't solve their problem will get the point across. Too much doom, and they'll tune out. But too little, they won't see why your product matters in the first place. Now, the goal is to strike a balance where the customer thinks, I can't afford to ignore this issue, and then sees your business as a safe path forward. But hold on. I can hear a few of you listening and saying, I don't want to fearmonger people into buying from me. And that is completely your choice as a business owner. But fear is a powerful marketing tool. People pay attention to what they're afraid of losing. But there's a fine line here. We're not talking about scaring customers stiff or using unethical fear tactics. We're talking about responsible, empathetic storytelling that acknowledges customers' fears and then empowers them. Remember, fear is like salt in the recipe. A little can enhance the flavor, but too much ruins the dish. Now, studies show that if an audience is either completely unafraid or absolutely terrified, they're unlikely to change their behavior. Messages with moderate fear are the most effective at inspiring action. In other words, you want to raise concern just enough that the customer pays attention and feels urgency, but not so much that they shut down or feel hopeless. How do you do this? By pairing any mention of risk with a clear solution and reassurance. When you briefly highlight the risk and immediately show how to avoid it, you trigger action, not panic. The message to your customer is, yes, this problem could hurt you, but it doesn't have to because we have your back. A great example of using fear ethically in marketing is Allstate's famous Mayhem ad campaign. If you've seen those ads, a character named Mayhem humorously personifies all the crazy things that can go wrong. Car accidents, tree limbs falling on your roof, you name it. It's entertaining, but it also makes you imagine the very real risks in everyday life. Then, Allstate immediately offers you the comforting solution, their insurance. The brilliance of this campaign is how it makes the stakes real without actually terrifying you. In fact, it uses humor to offset the fear. Now, you laugh at the antics of Mayhem, but the underlying message sinks in. Do you have protection from these disasters? If not, you could face serious losses, but Allstate can help you avoid that. This approach creates urgency and emotional renaissance without sliding into doom and gloom. The tone is key. By keeping it relatable and even funny, the campaign motivates rather than manipulates. Now, for your business, you might not run a national TV ad, but the principle stands. Identify the real fears of worries your customers have and address them head on in your messaging. If you run an e-commerce shop, for example, it could be as simple as saying, don't miss out. Items in your cart may sell out by tomorrow, which instills a gentle fear of missing the deal. If you're a financial advisor, you might say, you've worked hard for your money. Let's make sure you don't lose it to a volatile market, which taps a genuine fear but immediately offers help to prevent it. The key is to keep the tone constructive. You're not just yelling fire, you're the person guiding them to the exit and handing them a fire extinguisher. Your customers should feel motivated, not manipulated or paralyzed after hearing your message. When done right, a dash of fear in your story makes your marketing and your promise of help even more compelling. Now, Donald Miller does a fantastic job laying out the SB7 framework, and across all sections, there's a simple truth. Your brand succeeds when you help your customers avoid failure. Your product or service is the tool that prevents something bad from happening to them. Embrace that. Make it clear that you're here to guide them safely past the pitfalls on their journey. A practical way to do this is to ask yourself, what specific failures or frustrations am I helping my customer avoid? Brainstorm the worst case scenarios that you eliminate for people. Is it losing money due to inefficiency? Wasting time on a clunky process? Missing opportunities because of outdated tech? Feeling left behind in their industry or stressed out in their daily life? These are the stakes we talked about. framed as concrete problems that won't happen to your customer because you're there to help. For example, if you offer cybersecurity services to a small business, the failure you help avoid might be a devastating data breach. In your message, you could say, "We protect you from hacks that could shut down your business overnight." That one sentence tells the customer what failure you shield them from, a catastrophic hack, and hints at the solution, a robust protection. It speaks to the fear that is likely already in the back of their minds, and it positions your service as the guide that ensures that nightmare never becomes a reality. Now, always remember to paint yourself as the guide, not the hero. The customer is the hero. They want to win the day, but they need a guide, and that's you to help them do it. When your marketing language focuses on how you help customers sidestep landmines and avoid losses, you build trust. You're saying, in effect, "I understand what you're afraid of, and I know how to prevent it." That is enormously reassuring. It's the kind of message that builds confidence and loyalty because customers feel you genuinely care about their success and their safety. Now, as we wrap up the subject of stakes and failure, here's a pro tip. After you've defined the stakes, double down by showing the contrast, the avoidance of failure on one hand and the vision of success on the other. This brings us to the next crucial element, the happy ending you're leading your customer towards. Now, we've talked a lot about fear and what customers want to avoid. Now, equally important is what they want to achieve. In storytelling, after the hero overcomes the trial, we get the payoff, the treasure, the reunion, the transformation. For your customer, you need to clearly spell out the reward waiting for them if they choose your brand. Donald Miller points out that in stories, there are typically three kinds of happy endings a hero can experience: gaining power or status, achieving some form of union or belonging, or undergoing a self realization or transformation. In other words, your customer's deeper aspiration usually falls into one or more of these categories. Now let's break down those in business context. The first one is status, which is power and position. Sometimes customers are driven by the desire for status, prestige, or an edge that elevates them. Think of a small business owner buying premium software because it gives them the capabilities or efficiencies their competitors lack. That's a status boost. Or a professional hiring a coach to level up their skills and be seen as a leader in their field. If your product or service can make your customers feel more successful, respected, or ahead of the pack, you should highlight that. And in story terms, this is the hero gaining a kingdom, a medal, or the top of the mountain. In marketing terms, it could be social proof, like join the 1,000+ CEOs using our app, or language that promises expertise and leadership, like become the go-to expert in your market. You're dealing to natural desire for achievement and recognition. Now, the second one is unity, which is connection and belonging. Other customers are driven by relationships and community. The happy ending they seek is to be part of something that makes them whole. It could be love, it could be friendship, or just a sense of not being alone in their journey. Consider a fitness program that emphasizes group classes and a supportive community, or a brand that donates a portion of proceeds to a meaningful cause. These appeal to the need of connection and unity. If your brand can offer a tribe, a family, or a partnership, make that promise. For example, a tagline like "Welcome to the family" or "Work with us and join the community of innovators" speaks to this desire. Unity can also mean aligning with a cause or a value, something bigger than oneself. Small businesses can tap into this by showcasing testimonials and communities of happy customers, or by creating user groups, events, or online forums where customers feel connected. Now, the next one is self-realization or transformation. This is the internal victory the hero becomes a better version of themselves. Your customers might crave personal growth, confidence, peace of mind, or fulfillment. Think about an online course that promises to turn a newbie into a skilled marketer, or a productivity tool that helps users finally feel in control of their day. The essence here is transformation. Your product is a vehicle for the customer's personal self growth or self actualization. If this is what you offer, describe the before and after state. For instance, go from overwhelmed to organized in 1 week. Or find the freedom to focus on what matters. You're showing how their investment leads to them becoming who they want to be. In a classic story terms, this is the hero finding wisdom or inner peace. The self realization that makes them whole. Understanding these psychological drivers behind what success means to your customer allows them to fine tune your messages. Ask yourself which of these resonates most with your audience. It could be one or a blend of two. Great brands often hit all three notes to some degree. For example, Apple famously offers status, owning a cool premium device, and they offer unity, the Apple community of users, like I'm a Mac identity, and self realization, tools that unleash your creativity and personal potential. You don't have to be Apple, but you should articulate the biggest win your customer gets with your help. And be specific. Instead of saying, we help you succeed, paint a vivid picture of what success looks like. For example, you'll close more deals and feel more confident doing it. Now, Donald Miller reminds us that people are looking for resolution to their external, internal, and philosophical problems, and that if your products can help them achieve things like status, connection, or self improvement, we should make that a core part of our brand's promise. In practice, this means your marketing should answer, how will my customer's life be better after buying from me? Will they look good to their boss or friends? Will they feel good about themselves? Will they do good in the world? Figure out what that triumphant ending is for your hero and promise it loudly and clearly. So, how do you do this concretely? Start by describing life after in tangible terms. You can even use a simple before and after exercise like, what does a day in their life look like before using your product, and what does it look like after? So, you need to spell it out for what they have. After hiring our service, you'll have more free time in your week. And then you'll want to identify how they feel, and you'll feel peace of mind knowing your finances are in order, and even how the world around them might change, which means more quality time with your family and less stress at work. Now, when it comes to communicating the resolution, storytelling techniques can help. Use images and words that trigger the imagination. For example, instead of saying improve sales, say, imagine your sales team hitting their targets month after month while you watch your business grow steadily. Instead of save time, try picture leaving the office at 5 p.m. stress free because everything is handled. By foreshadowing a successful ending, you create a compelling image of an achievable future. You captivate your audience's imagination. They begin to see themselves in that story, and that's powerful because once a customer can vividly picture the payoff, they'll want it even more. Also, you'll want to ensure your calls to action reinforce the promised resolution. It's one thing to paint the picture, it's another to invite them to step into it. Simple tweaks like changing a call to action from get started to start your transformation or join 100 plus successful restaurateurs tie the action to the outcome. It reminds the customer why they're clicking that button, not just to buy a product, but to achieve the resolution you've promised. Finally, you'll want to be consistent and clear. The resolution you promised should be echoed across your marketing, your website, your emails, your sales calls. And if the ultimate promise is, say, peace of mind, then your homepage might show a smiling customer enjoying family time. Visualizing the peace of mind you provide, your copy might say sleep easier at night knowing you're protecting your data. Everything works together to reinforce the story that the customer follows your lead. They avoid failure and arrive at a satisfying success. Now, when a brand does this well, it's incredibly attractive. customers feel this is exactly what I've been wanting in my story, and they'll be eager to play it out with you. Now, we've covered a lot in this episode: stakes, fear, failure, success. So, how do you use these insights right now in your own business? Let's sum up with a quick action plan. Here are a few steps you can take today to apply story brand principles to your marketing and messaging. The first thing you need to do is audit your message for stakes. Look at your website or your latest piece of marketing material, and do you clearly state what's at stake for the customer? If not, add a line or two that highlights a key loss or problem they risk if they don't take action. Even a subtle addition like "don't let another week of low productivity hold your team back" can interject urgency and meaning. Make sure it's a real concern your audience has: loss of money, time, security, etc. Something that will resonate and not feel forced. Then you're going to want to add a pinch of ethical fear. Identify one common fear or frustration your customers face and work it into your messaging along with your solution. For example, in an email, you might mention many businesses struggle with data loss, but our backup system ensures you're never one of them. Now, this shows that you understand their fear and you're equipped to eliminate it. Remember to keep the tone helpful and hopeful. No heavy scare tactics, just sincere concern and a promise of safety. Next, you're going to want to highlight the avoidance of failure and make sure it's obvious how your product or service prevents a bad outcome. One trick is to phrase part of your value proposition as "never experience X again." For instance, a home security company could say, "never come home to a broken house again." Or perhaps you're a tax consultant and you might promise, "never miss out on eligible deductions again." This kind of phrasing zeroes in on the failure you protect them from. Then you're going to want to paint the success picture. Revisit your core marketing copy, your tagline, your headline, your pitch. Does it describe a clear benefit or end state the customer will enjoy? If not, rewrite it to show the happy ending. Aim for a single vivid sentence if you can. For example, "get fit" is okay, but "get fit and feel confident in your own skin" is much more compelling because it connects to an internal victory. Make sure the customer can almost feel that successful result. Next, you're going to want to check for 3 drivers. Ask yourself if your message touches on status, unity, or self-improvement, whichever one is most relevant. If you realize your current pitch only talks about features and not how it makes sense to make the customer's life better, add in one of these elements. Maybe it's stand out in an industry as a leader, or become part of a community of creatives, or master a skill that transform your career. Each one of those speak to status, unity, and self-realization. Even a small addition can deepen the emotional impact of your marketing. Then you can simplify and clarify. Finally, you can ensure that everything is communicated clearly. No one should be confused about what you're offering or what you're promising. State the problem, the stakes, your solution, and the successful outcome in straightforward language. As Donald Miller says, if you confuse, you lose. So cut the jargon and speak to your customers' aspirations and anxieties directly. So as we wrap up this 5-part series on building a story brand, remember that these concepts are more than theory. They are tools you can use immediately to connect with customers and grow your business. We've seen how a clear story can transform confusing marketing into compelling marketing. Now it's in your hands. Your customers are out there, ready to be moved by a great story. And you need to make your marketing about them, their stakes, their journey, their success. And you'll earn that kind of engagement that money can't buy. If all of this has you inspired to take the next step Don't forget that we are running a giveaway throughout this 6-part mini series on building a story brand, where all you need to do is comment, clarify my message, and we will randomly select a lucky person to receive a copy of Building a Story Brand book, as well as a 2-hour strategy session with myself and team where we will work alongside you to build out your story brand message so your marketing will start producing massive results without needing to increase your marketing budget. And thank you for joining me on the high ground for this special story brand mini series. I hope you found it engaging, educational, and above all, actionable. And if you missed any episodes, feel free to go back and listen. We've covered every single step of the framework, from defining the hero to delivering the resolution. And if you've enjoyed this series, I would love it if you would share the podcast with a fellow business owner who could use a better brand story. Now, your story is your strategy. So go ahead, build your story brand, and invite your customers into an adventure where they win every single time. I can't wait to hear about the success stories you create. Now, get out there and make your marketing legendary. Remember, keep your eyes on the summit, and I'll see you next time on the high ground.